Good morning, and thanks for tuning in to Lynn's Life's Lesson. Hi, I'm Lynn, and I'm coming to you today. I had a video that was requested after I did the video on relationships. So I'm coming on today. I was requested to talk about abuse. And if anybody knows me, they know that I was in 2 abusive relationships. And they know a little bit about my story because I don't hide the fact that I was abused. And I talk and let other women know that you don't have to go through that. Because at the time when I was being abused, I didn't have anyone. I wasn't around family at the time. I was in another state and I didn't know my resources and how to get help to get out of that relationship. So I have a few statistics I want people to know about. There are 6 types of abuse. And if you see me getting a little nervous, it's because sometimes when you're talking about what you went through in your life, it's a little hard. And reflecting back, and when I got the, when someone asked me to do the video on abuse, I didn't sleep well last night because everything was running through my head as to what to say, how to say it. And I was just nervous, and I said, I'm just gonna tell it the way it was. And it may be like a 2-part video for me, but I just want to empower someone who's out there, who's going through the same thing that I went through, who didn't have anyone, or they're scared to tell someone. So just like I wanted to let you guys know, there are 6 types of abuse. And if you see me looking down, it's because I take notes. There's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's verbal and emotional abuse, there's mental and psychological abuse, there's financial and economic abuse, and there's also cultural identity abuse. But the one I'm going to be talking on today is domestic abuse. And I'll be talking a little bit about mental or psychological abuse, because a lot of times we can be mentally or psychologically being abused and don't really understand what's happening to us because we don't have people in our life that are trying to encourage us. So I'm going to go back to the time when I was being abused, which is when I was living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And my mom had moved back home because I went to Pennsylvania because, shout out to my little sister, Amanda, because we made a little pact when our parents had broke up that one of us would go live with our mom and one would stay here and help see about our dad. So that's what we did. And my little sister Latoya was with my mom because she was really young, because I have a sister and we're like 17 years apart. But later I'll tell you about that. But just wanted to come on and talk to, someone out there who may need to hear this video concerning abuse. And I wanted to reflect on the first time that my husband abused me. My first husband abused me. And the first time I was hit from my first husband was we were working together, and we were trying to, he did cleaning. He had his own cleaning business. So he had a cleaning business in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And when he had the cleaning business, when you went in to clean in the banks, you had to do a background check. So I did the background check. I passed the background check. He didn't pass the background check. He wasn't happy about that. So as we were leaving, and the bank, the people at the bank told him, say, well, your wife can come in and clean, but you won't be able to clean. So he was really upset. I didn't know what was happening. So when I began to walk out, we began to walk out of the bank, and he was telling him, well, you can't clean the bank or whatever, but your wife can. He was very upset, but he didn't say anything. So when he didn't say anything, I just walked behind him and we walked out. But I do remember, and the next thing I remember was, what did you do? What did you do? And I was like, I didn't do anything because I didn't know. I just went with you the same time to do the background, and they did the background check and everything. We all went together. I didn't go by myself. So I just was walking behind him. And as I was walking behind him, we was leaving the bank. I just remember being hit in my face. I've never been, I was knocked out unconscious, literally. Because when he punched me and I ended up on the ground. And it was like, I didn't know what was happening, but I felt my body fall. I fell down and he was like, I was really dizzy and I was trying to get my composure because I didn't know what had happened. And he told me, he said, get up, get up. And he helped, he pulled me on up and I got up because people could see what was going on, but nobody said anything. So when he did that, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. And my face was swollen. I went home and was putting ice on it. And I was just still at a loss because I was still trying to figure out, what did I do? What happened? What did I do to make you angry enough to want to hit me? All I did was go to the bank with you, try to secure a job for us, because you had a business. But little did I know he had a past background. He had some issues in his background that I didn't know about. Because, and like I tell women, when you, sometimes, now we have the internet, which you can search out a person and figure out who they are and know something about their background. But me back then, I wasn't computer savvy. I didn't know about that. I had met my husband. I moved to Pennsylvania with my mom, and they had a corner store, and I ended up working at his dad's corner store. That's how we met. And I would go to work there, and that's how I met him, and we started talking, and we got together. And after that, I got hit, and when he hit me and everything, and he took me home, and all the family was like, oh my God, they kind of knew the person he was, because when he brought me around, I had a black eye, and they knew something had happened. They knew he had hit me, but no one was strong enough to say, he fights, he hits you, or he has issues, because he had issues in his other relationships that I didn't know about, because I wasn't from Pennsylvania. I didn't know anyone there when I went. I only knew my uncle, because he's a doctor, and I knew him. So, I knew my uncle, and my mom was there, but I didn't want my mom to know what was going on, so I kept it quiet. I didn't say anything, and he took me home, and I'm convinced to put the ice on my face and everything. I'm trying to still figure out what's going on. And when you're abused, you're trying to figure out, what did I do? What did I do wrong? What was wrong with me that he hit me? And you have to realize it's nothing you've done. The person that you're with is just a coward. And for me to say a coward, sometimes I think about all the things I took being in that relationship, because a lot of times we take a lot of stuff in the relationships. But that was my first time, and I want to share that, being hit by my husband. And I stayed because I was comfortable in the situation. I stayed because I didn't understand. I stayed because I didn't know any better. I didn't want the embarrassment of someone knowing that I was being abused. And I hid out from my mom so she wouldn't know what I was going through. I never told my mom, even though a couple of times she would ask me, are you okay? And I would never tell her that I was being abused. That was just the first time that he hit me. And then after that, after he hit me, like maybe the next day, he brought me flowers and candy, and I was all mixed up, and I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know how to handle it. But then fast forward to my life. Before then, I had gave birth to my daughter Portia, and I usually don't use names, but my daughter's okay with that. But I had gave birth to my daughter Portia, because sometimes you have to back up to think about what made you lose what you had, what made you lose the confidence that you had in yourself. Because when I was in school, I had high confidence. I had things I wanted to accomplish. But by me having my child and having to rear her by myself, I had to make a lot of decisions, and make a lot of decisions fast. And while I was sometimes when you're in relationships when you're young, because I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart, and I got pregnant from him. And once I got pregnant, he went off to college, and I stayed home and took care of my daughter. And I began to think back to when did I lose who I was? When did I lose my self-worth? And I had to go back and think about all that I had went through in that relationship, being body shamed after I gave birth. One of the incidents was being body shamed after I gave birth to my first daughter. I gained I went up a size after I gave birth to my daughter, and my daughter's father was like, no, he wasn't having me gaining weight. So now I understand. I had to go back and kind of understand where I lost my self-identity, and where I began to say, okay, it's okay to take this because you want to be different, you want to be better, you want to, not so much being different, but you take a lot of things because you don't want the person that you're not in a relationship anymore to know that you're vulnerable and that you're in another relationship and you're not happy. You try to hide so many things that you went through because you want everyone to think, I have a man and I'm in a relationship and I'm happy, when a lot of times women are in relationships and they're really not happy. And I always take it back to, what would you do just to say you have a man or a woman in your life? So for me, I had to go back and look on all that I had went through before I got into this relationship. What made me drop my self-esteem so low that I thought that it was okay for someone to hit me and still be with me? And I had to go back and pull out things that I went through before that. And I had to pull out the fact that my daughter's grandmother was really mean to me, and she would say things to me like, she felt like I wasn't good enough for her son. So I went through that battle after I gave birth to my daughter. And I also went through the battle of, some people think that my mother-in-law, not my mother-in-law, but my daughter's grandmother did not believe that my daughter was his biological child. So I went through that part too, which is she was his biological child, but I raised my daughter, Portia, by myself. And I don't fault anybody. I'm not mad with anyone. I gave everything to Christ because that's the way my mom raised me to be, to let things go. But I'm wearing this shirt today that says, the blood makes the difference. And the reason why I feel like the blood makes the difference is because my mom was always praying for me. And my mom had other people praying for me while I was going through what I was going through in Pennsylvania. And I would go to church with her and people would pray over me. And my husband did not want me to go to church. He was just a very controlling person. Anytime you have someone that's trying to control you, you need to get out of it and get out of it as soon as possible. But a lot of people say, oh, you think it's easy to get out of it, which is true. You don't know your resources. But I thank God, and now we have resources that help when we have codes and things that women can do to let someone know what's happening to them. Back then, we didn't have those codes, and a lot of women were losing their lives because they thought they had to be in this relationship. They thought they had to go through that. They thought that things would change because, once my husband abused me and brought flowers, he asked me to forgive him. And I forgave him. I was sorry. I said, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I was apologizing, but I really didn't do anything. But the abuse did keep on. And I stayed in a relationship, like I tell everyone, a lot longer than I should. And after that, I probably should have moved on, but I didn't because I was scared. And sometimes when you're scared and you're comfortable in your relationship, and meaning comfortable, meaning you relinquish control to someone. And that's why I talk to people and let them know you cannot relinquish your control over your life to anyone. You have to always remember to think about yourself. You are worth it. You are worthy. You are worthy of being able to go somewhere by yourself and do what you need to do. And a lot of the things I went through was the fact that my husband started to be very controlling. He controlled the money. And it's a lot of women don't understand. You have to have some things that you can control. You need to have your own bank account. You need to be able to put money away. You need to be able to have something where you have a fund where you can get out. You need to tell somebody. And that's the biggest thing. Everybody asks me, oh, well, why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you do that? Because you get comfortable in that relationship. You're ashamed. You're embarrassed. You're hurt. You don't know what to do. But I'm just telling you, tell someone. Let someone know what you're going through. And do not, by all means, do not allow anyone to continue to hurt you. Because if they're hurting you, they don't love you. And that's if they're doing it physically, mentally, emotionally. They will have you on a roller coaster. So I came on today to say that you can get help. There are resources that you can go to. And the biggest thing, you need to tell someone what you're going through. And this is a statistic that a lot of women probably don't know. If there are 3 women in a room, or 1 out of 3 women have been abused. If there are 3 women in a room, 1 of those women have been abused. They're just not telling you. They're just not sharing it with you. And by all means, I am not a therapist, but I'm going to have a part 2 to let you know exactly some of the things I went through. And by being married, some women don't even realize it's women out here that are married to their husband and they tell them no, and they're being raped too. So it's a lot of things I really want to talk about, but I came on to talk about, to let someone know you are somebody, you are worthy. You have a story to tell. And when looking at my life, I wonder why I went through some of the things I went through. I went through a lot of things I went through because God wanted me to be able to tell someone else my story. And I tell people all the time, I'm a living and walking miracle because of all the things I went through with abuse at the hands of someone else. I am alive. I am living. I am here for a reason. I am here to tell you, you can come out of it. You don't have to stay there. There are hotlines. And the most women that are abused are between the ages of 18 and 24. And there are older women who also are being abused, but they're being abused differently, maybe not physically, but mentally and emotionally. And domestic abuse is not just limited to a state. It's all over the world. There are women that are being abused for different reasons, and we don't have to take that. I want to let you know to take back your power. Empower yourself to get help. Tell somebody what you're going through. And yes, it's hard for me to talk about it sometimes because last night I was really down because it was like, how am I going to tell this story to let someone know you are worthy? You are somebody. You are loved. It's someone out there for you, but you have to come out of the situation you're in order to get blessed. And that's what I said. I went through the abuse, but when I came out of it, and it was not easy. It was very hard for me. It was really hard. I finally told somebody. I finally told my sister what I was going through. I was able to get away one day from my husband. And I was, when I say I was able to get away because my husband would monitor me. I couldn't even have a phone call with my family members unless he was there listening. But it just so happened that one day that he allowed me to go to the phone and make a phone call. And I made that phone call, and I would always talk to my sister like this. My sister would always question me, and she'd be like, "You okay?" And I always knew that when I talked to her, I had to talk a certain way. And I'd be like, she'd say, "Are you okay, Lynn? Are you okay?" Because, she would say, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." But on this day, I got up the courage. And she said, "Sissy, are you okay?" And I said, "Mm-mm." She said, "You all right?" I said, "Mm-mm," because I was tired. And she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." I couldn't. I would always answer my sister in yes and no because I was so used to talking to people. I would say yes and no when I talked to them because if I said something later on, I would be abused for that, what I said, because it was always make it look like we have the best relationship, make it look like everything is okay. So what I did was I made it look like everything was okay. But just the one day that my sister called and she said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Mm-mm." And she said, "Sissy, you want to come home?" And I said, "Mm-hmm." But I said, "Mm-hmm." But I thank God for her because that day that I talked to her, she helped me so much. And as I began to talk to her, she said, "Okay." She just kept saying, "Okay, you're going to be all right." And I got off the phone with my sister. And after I got off the phone with her, the next day, my mom came to get me. And that's why I tell people I'm a living miracle. I told you about the first abuse. I didn't tell you about all the abuse. So I had taken a lot of abuse before I told anyone. But I reached out, and I know that my sister was sent from God to ask me those questions that particular day. And God had set it up that I was able to come out of it. But had I not expressed to her, and had she not had listened to that voice to tell her to ask me the questions that she asked, I would have still been in the abuse. So I'm just going to keep telling my story and letting women know, empower yourself. And if you're in Florida, they do have a domestic abuse line that you can call and get support. And if you're in Florida, you can call the relay line, which is 711. You can call and get help. And also, if you're in Florida, there's a number 1-800-500-119. You can call and get help. The biggest thing is, if you are being abused, is to tell someone that you're being abused. And you can only get help if you tell someone. So I just wanted to come on and let you know that there are men out there that can restore you back, but you must trust God first, because God will send a ram in the bush for you. And I thank God that I had a ram that day that was in the bush that asked me the questions that I needed to know to come out of this situation. Remember, you are someone. You are loved. You have a purpose. So I just wanted to come on and share that today. And I will be making more videos about abuse and letting you know some of the things I went through. And I'm not out here trying to bash anyone, because whatever I went through in my life, I have forgiven everyone for anything they have done to me. That's one thing my mom taught me, to forgive. You don't have to necessarily forget, but you should forgive. And in that forgiveness, there's healing. As you release the forgiveness of what someone has done to you, you can be healed. And I am healed. I am restored. And it took a lot for me to, talk about it, but I'm not ashamed of what I went through. I am a living testimony. And I just wanted to say thank you to Nikita Burgess for the shirt, because I got it from her. And it says, "The blood makes the difference." And I believe this, the blood makes the difference, because the blood that he shed for me and all of you, to let us know that we are going to be okay. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. And also a shout out to the young lady that did my hair, Naya Robinson. Thank you so much. I just want to empower women and let them know, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. And I just want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in to my videos. I hope I am being a blessing to you. And if you want to know any more information, just leave a comment and I'll gladly reach back out to you. But thank you so much and have a blessed day.